Hi everyone, and thanks for being here. I'm Phil Bacon. I run a company called Marketing Managed. We help engineering, manufacturing, technology, education, and marketing agencies across the UK and Europe to untangle their marketing and make it do what it was always meant to do: drive business growth. Not vanity, not noise, just effective marketing, properly managed. Now, that's my pitch. Get on with the rest of it. Now let me start with a short story. A little while ago, I was brought in by a specialist machining firm. They're turning over about 4 million a year, doing some really impressive work for aerospace clients, and had recently expanded into Europe. But when I asked the MD, where do most of your leads come from? He just looked at me and couldn't say. In fact, his words were, I honestly couldn't tell you. They were running Google Ads. Their website was getting traffic. Their sales team, they were busy, but none of the systems were connected, and even worse, none of the data lined up. They had no idea which campaigns were working. Leads were falling through the cracks, and the only report they trusted was a spreadsheet put together by the office manager every month. Does this sound familiar? That's the challenge we're here to talk about today, and importantly, how to solve it. This session is for people like that MD. Smart, experienced business leaders who are growing frustrated with all the tools and platforms they've added over the years, but who still feel like they're flying blind when it comes to marketing. If you're spending money on marketing and you're not sure what you're getting back, you're in the right place. So today, I'm going to walk you through what I mean by joined up systems, why disconnected tools and processes are such a problem, how to tell if your systems are working together properly, and I'm going to go through some real world examples from businesses like yours and what you can do about it starting this week. And don't worry, I'm not here to sell you another tool, I'm not here to sell you a service. This isn't about rebuilding your tech stack or throwing everything out and starting again. In fact, one of the most powerful lessons I've learned is that most companies already have what they need. It's just not joined up. And that's what we're going to change. Before we dive in, just a reminder, at the end of this session, I'm going to be giving you a free downloadable checklist to help you assess how ready your business is for a joined up system, so you can leave with something today that's practical. Now, let's get into what I mean by joined up and what it actually looks like when it works. So let's start with the basics. What do I actually mean when I say joined up marketing systems? It means your tools, your CRM, your website, your ads, your email platform, your booking systems, them all talking to each other in real time. That way, the journey from someone discovering your business to becoming a customer is tracked, automated and measurable. Let me give you a basic example. Let's say someone clicks on Google Ads and lands on your website. Good start. They fill out a contact form. Hooray! They've done something. That form should send their details straight into your CRM, not an email inbox, not a spreadsheet. From there, an automated sequence could send a thank you message from your sales team's email address, assign that person to the right salesperson, create a task to follow them up, log their activity in a dashboard, notify the team that they want to book a meeting through Calendly. Now imagine if they don't do any of that. Instead, that lead goes into someone's inbox. Maybe they're on holiday, maybe it gets missed, maybe it's picked up 4 days later and by then the lead's gone cold or gone somewhere else. This is the difference between a joined up system and a disconnected one. One drives momentum, the other introduces risk. And if I can tell you, in every single engineering or manufacturing firm that I've worked with that's embraced joined up marketing, the difference has been night and day. Another example, there's going to be a few examples throughout this. We worked with a niche fabrication company recently, and their team was manually copying leads from LinkedIn into a spreadsheet, then copying them into Zoho, then emailing each one individually. Once we linked their outreach tool, a CRM, an email together using Make, okay, all right, I said we weren't going to introduce more tech. Sometimes there has to be. In this case, we had to introduce Make. That then took that same process under 10 seconds and required no human input. The result? More time for conversations, more accurate data, and no more, oh, sorry, I forgot to follow up. What happens when they're not joined up? Well, a bit like this. Salespeople follow up too late. No ROI is reported. budgets get wasted. Here's the thing, marketing doesn't fail because tools are bad. It fails because tools are disconnected and used wrong. That then causes the real problems. And those include the fact that businesses waste thousands on campaigns that look great on the surface, beautiful emails, slick websites, ads that run for months and months and months, but actually driving leads to nowhere and hemorrhaging cash because there's no follow-up, there's no tracking, there's no feedback loop. So when I talk about joined up systems, I'm not talking about anything complex. I'm talking about clarity. It's about building a simple, reliable line of sight from your investment to your impact. The next thing we're going to talk about is I'm going to show you where most companies go wrong and what warning signs to look out for, even if everything seems to be working fine on the surface. So some of these common pitfalls, the stuff that I see time and time again across engineering, manufacturing, education, agencies, technology, at this point we can say pretty much any industry. These businesses are all smart, the products are world class, but the marketing infrastructure is often patchwork. So let's start with pitfall number 1, website leads not going into the CRM. Sounds simple, sounds obvious, right? You've got a form on your website, maybe a request to quote or a call. We found that website form was being sent into a shared inbox that hadn't been checked in 3 weeks. And worse still, it was one of their sales directors that had left the company 6 months earlier. Leads were literally arriving and going nowhere. If that sounds extreme, I promise you, it's more common than you'd think. And here's pitfall number 2. The CRM doesn't trigger follow-ups automatically. Okay, we've moved away from the basic to something slightly less basic, but if you've got somebody in-house that can look after this, like your marketing manager or even your sales manager, you should be able to set this up. It's not a complicated process. Even if the lead does make it to your CRM though, what happens next? I work with an automation parts distributor. They had Zoho CRM in place, which is a great tool. We use it. But they had no workflows that had been set up for following up. So when a new lead arrived, the system didn't do anything. No alert, no email, no task created. So the team had to remember to check the CRM every day. And you can guess what happened next. They didn't do it very often. What we did was to set up automated lead alerts in Slack and email, task creation rule for the assigned salesperson, a warm-up email series that educated the lead while they waited for the responses. The response rate doubled, the team were no longer relying on memory or luck, and potential customers were not being left in the dark. So more business getting closed. Okay, so pitfall number 3, sales and marketing not sharing data. This is crucial, and this is also a cultural issue as well as a technical one. In many firms, a sales team see marketing as fluff, crayon-wielding people, and marketing see sales as cowboys and promise breakers. Neither side actually wants to share what's working and what's not, so they operate in silos. Now, I'd love to say this has changed, but I was seeing this in the early noughties, this was the same back in the 80s, this is the same still now, the same mentality still exists. Some companies are better at this than others, but there's still a lot out there that they don't talk. I saw a composite material supplier a couple of months ago. Marketing was running LinkedIn campaigns that were generating demo requests. The sales team didn't trust the leads. They thought they were too cold, so they ignored them. Turns out those cold leads are actually specifically there for the product for major infrastructure projects. And one closed 6 weeks later at £180,000. But that was a cold lead. The campaign almost got pulled because the sales team didn't want to get involved. They didn't trust what was coming from marketing. It ended up becoming the most valuable campaign they'd ever run. And what was missing? A joined up feedback loop. Now, pitfall number 4, manual reporting. Or at worst, no reporting at all. The moment I see somebody pulling out a spreadsheet to show marketing ROI, I know there's a deeper problem. When data lives in silos, Google Analytics here, CRM's there, Ad Manager somewhere else, it becomes impossible to see the bigger picture. We've just taken on a client recently where that is very much the case. And that's through no fault of their own. They've never had a need to join it all up. Now again, I said we don't bring in new tools unless we don't have to. We've brought in a new tool that can consolidate all of their channels because they've got such a big variety of places that everything's going on. It's actually much harder to create that single source of truth for the data. So we brought in a very lightweight tool that can show them everything about the business in real time. So businesses that end up looking at a few lightweight metrics, vanity metrics, they look at the clicks, they look at the likes, they look at open rates. But what they really need is really need to look at how many leads came in, which ones became customers, how much revenue was influenced by each activity. That's only possible when the data flows through the business, not just into one part of it. And we see this all the time. Marketing not getting credit for something that's happening. We know that campaigns have run. We've run them. We've then been told, oh, we've had a request for a proposal off the back of this email campaign. It's got a value of 1.8 million. Well, straight away, we now know that that email campaign has triggered a £1.8 million request for a proposal. That's significant. If that comes off, and in this particular case, their closure rate is 50%, so 50-50 chance of that coming off. If it comes off, justified marketing for them for the next 5 years. So, number 5, tools being added without integration. You've probably seen this before. A marketing agency tells you to get HubSpot. A consultancy wants you to use Pipedrive. A sales team come along and wants to use Calendly. Somebody in the marketing department decides to start a MailChimp account. Your web developers prefer WordPress. You've now got 5 different logins, 10 different dashboards, and no one knows where the truth lives. The tools aren't the problem. The lack of connection between them is. So, what are the signs to suggest that you've fallen into a pitfall? You ask your team for data and it takes days for them to compile it. You're unsure where your leads are coming from. Sales and marketing disagree about quality and quantity. No alerts or follow-ups are automated. Reports don't match or are conflicting. If any of these sound familiar, you're not alone. These aren't just marketing problems, they're business visibility problems. I'm fully aware that sounds a little bit like M&S and their food. But here's the good news. You don't have to overhaul everything to fix them. In fact, in the next section, I'm going to walk you through how a typical mid-sized manufacturer is able to unlock growth and speed without changing tools, just by connecting them up better. And then we'll look at how you can assess your own systems using a straightforward readiness checklist. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. A few months ago, I started working in the fabrication business in the Midlands. About 35 people, turning over £6 million a year. Solid customer base in the construction industry. They had what most would call a basic marketing setup. WordPress website, Google Ads sending traffic to the homepage, MailChimp newsletters going out once a month, a Zoho CRM that the MD had pushed for but the sales team barely touched, and a Calendly system for booking site visits, which was used by one salesperson but not the others. On the surface, it didn't seem too bad, but when we dug in, here's what we found. Website inquiries that were going to a shared email inbox, leads that were being manually copied into a spreadsheet. It's all starting to sound a bit familiar, right? Only the sales manager had CRM access and he was using it like an address book. The Google Ads agency was reporting on click-through rates but had no idea if those visitors were turning into customers, because no feedback loop. MailChimp emails had a 40% open rate, which sounded good, but there was no link between the people opening emails and those becoming customers, because, again, no data being shared. Calendly bookings weren't connected to the CRM, so the MD had no visibility of booked meetings. They were spending thousands every month on marketing, but couldn't answer a basic question. Is any of it actually working? That's where we stepped in, without replacing anything. The fix? We didn't add any new tools. We just made the existing ones talk to each other. We linked the website's email contact form to Zoho CRM using a simple make automation, because their website couldn't use the Zoho form tool. No more inboxes, no more spreadsheets. The moment a form was filled, a lead record was created. We had the logic to the route leads based on type of inquiry, For example, site survey requests went to the technical sales team, while general inquiries were handled by admin. Step 3. Every new lead triggered a short automated sequence, a warm-up email from the relevant person introducing themselves and offering a follow-up call. This built rapport between the salesperson and the customer before they even picked up a phone. Calendly was next. We connected it to Zoho so bookings were auto-populating in the CRM and creating follow-up tasks. Finally, we created a dashboard that gave the MD a weekly report showing where leads came from, which had the highest conversion rate, what stage each lead was in, how long was it taking to move from inquiry to sale. That visibility changed everything. The next 90 days, they saw a lead to sale time reduced by 37%. Follow-up time improved from 3.5 days to under 4 hours. Monthly reporting done in 15 minutes, not 3 hours. Sales team satisfaction rate improved dramatically. Marketing budget reallocated to highest return on investment sources. Within those 3 months, and that lead time had dropped, the follow-ups were happening the same day. The team stopped arguing about lead quality because they could see what was happening and they weren't wasting budget. That's the power of joining up what you already have. And the best part is, most of it was low cost or no cost. We just made better use of what they already were paying for. There are still improvements to be made as well, but we weren't going to try and take them all on at once, because if you do it all at once, there's room for error. Bite off chunks at a time. So before we move on to the final section, let me ask you this. What does your setup look like today? In the next part, I'm going to walk you through our assessment and help you work out your current level of readiness and show you how to spot the biggest gaps. The marketing systems readiness checklist. So you've heard what a joined up system can look like and you've seen the kind of results it can drive, but how ready is your business to take this on? This next section is all about self-assessment, not the HMRC kind. I'm going to walk you through the exact checklist we use at Marketing Managed when we first speak with a client. And by the end of it, you'll have a clear sense of what's working and what's not, and what to fix first. This is also a checklist you'll get as a downloadable guide at the end of today's session. So don't worry about scribbling everything down. Let's just go through it today together. They're easy, yes, no questions. Area 1, lead capture. Ask yourself the following. Can you track every inquiry back to its source? Do form submissions automatically enter your CRM? Are leads tagged or segmented by type or interest? Is the handoff to sales clearly defined and documented? Are any inboxes where leads go to die? This is all about how your leads enter the business. If they're arriving but nobody knows where or who follows up, that's a red flag. If you answered no to more than one of these, this should be your first priority. But give yourself a score out of 5. 0 for no, 1 for yes. The next section is automation and follow-up. Ask yourself the following. Are there any touch points that are still handled manually? Do leads receive an immediate response when they inquire? Does your CRM automatically assign leads and tasks? Is your follow-up consistent, regardless of who's away or busy? Can you track activity across email, LinkedIn, phone, meetings and other channels? Follow-up speed is one of the biggest factors in conversion. Businesses that respond within an hour are 7 times more likely to qualify a lead than those who wait a day. If your follow-up depends on who's in the office and who's checked that inbox, you're exposed to risk. Again, 0 for no, 1 for yes, and it's out of 5. The next area is data visibility. Ask yourself, do you have a dashboard showing all your current leads at their current stages? Can you easily report on marketing and return on investment without spreadsheets? Is it clear which source brings in the best leads? Are sales and marketing using the same definitions for success? Think sales qualified leads, marketing qualified leads. They don't mean the same thing, but they do have a place in the mix. Can you generate reports on demand, or does it take days? This is one that gets most nods, because if you've ever tried to pull a report and had to chase 5 people and 3 logins, you know the pain. Joined up systems should give you that clarity in a minute. If you can't see the truth across marketing and sales in one place, that's costing you time and money. Again, 0 for no's, 1's for yeses, best out of 5. Tech stack cohesion. Ask yourself the following. Do your systems pass data between them automatically? Are you using tools you've outgrown or only partially adopted? Have you added new tools without checking for integration? Do staff need to copy and paste between systems? Could a new team member learn your setup in under a week? This section is about simplicity. You don't need 20 tools, you need the right ones working together properly. If your team is consistently jumping between tabs or duplicating tasks, that's not just inefficient, it's demoralising. Joined up doesn't mean fancy, it means streamlined. 0 for no, 1 for yes. I'm going to have a look at scoring in a second. If you've kept up, tot it up. If you haven't, not a problem. You'll have a copy of the scorecard later and you can answer those questions. So, what do the scores mean? If you've scored above 17, your systems are in great shape and you're likely to already be seeing benefits. That 13 to 16, you're close, you can make a few smart fixes and you can make a big impact. And now you've got that hit list of things that you said no to. Those no's, pick off the easiest one on that list and go and try and see if you can get it fixed this week. And then you've got the rest to be fixing over the next few months. 9 to 12, you've got potential, but there's likely to be friction costing you time or revenue. And below 9, this is your golden opportunity because you've got the most to gain. Again, I'm going to send this out as a full checklist after the webinar, but I hope that that exercise gave you some clarity on where you stand. In the next section, I'm going to share with you the 3 biggest lessons I've learned while fixing disconnected marketing systems and what your very next steps should be. So let's bring everything together, those 3 biggest lessons I've learned after working on marketing systems for dozens and dozens of engineering and manufacturing companies and other businesses across the SME space, all the way up to multi-site operations. You don't need more tools, you need a better flow. I've seen businesses that run brilliantly with just 5 core tools: a good website, a solid CRM, an email platform, a booking tool, and a way to report on results. The difference is, it isn't just the tools, it's how those tools talk to each other. You don't need to rebuild your stack from scratch. In fact, most of our wins at Marketing Managed come from better wiring, not bigger systems. I'm going to say speed beats perfection. One of the biggest blockers to joined up systems is perfectionism. People wait to have the website finished or to get everything set up or to retrain the system and the people. I know companies that have said, I've got a new website coming. 4 years later, that website still hasn't arrived and they're still wondering why they aren't getting leads from their current website. Anyway, so clarity comes from doing, not from planning endlessly. Start with one quick win. Link your website form directly to your CRM. Set up a single automation for lead alerts, or just track where your last 10 customers really came from. The faster you close the gaps, the faster your systems start helping you and not holding you back. Data should work for you, not the other way around. If you're spending hours each week chasing reports, asking for updates, or trying to piece together bits of data to build a picture of performance, your systems are not doing their job. Good systems give you good answers, not questions. You should be able to see in one screen how many leads came in, who's handling them, which campaign drove them, and what the expected value is. If that feels out of reach right now, just know it's absolutely achievable and it's not just you. And you don't have to make a massive investment. So what can you do this week? Step 1. Score yourself with the checklist. If you've already done that, hurrah, you've already done step 1. If you haven't done it yet, we'll be sending it out and you can score yourself later. Step 2, pick one system gap to close. Step 3, ask your team, what's our biggest blind spot? Pitchy time! Step 4, book a 15-minute check-in with me. Optional, don't have to do it, but I'm here if you want to bend somebody's ear about an element. Or you can book in with one of my team instead. Step 5, or step 4 if you've decided not to book in a call, start small, build fast, and stay joined up. So with the checklist, you're going to receive a link and you'll be able to use it today. Use it to score yourself honestly. No fluff, just facts. Simple yes, no questions. Pick one gap. Don't try to fix everything at once. Start with the place that's causing the most friction. And then this one's key. Asking your team what they think your blind spots are. They're the ones that know. They really do, because they're the ones that are constantly doing it. Unless you're still in the trenches with them, you probably don't have the full visibility of what the blind spots really are. You might be surprised by those answers. Like I said, you can book in a call with me. There's no hard sell. It's just a chance to talk through one of your points and also your score, and we can point you in the right direction. We're not going to try and sell you on that call. And if I tell you what, I'll give you the promise now. If I do try and pitch to you on that 15-minute call, I will send you brownies from my favourite brownie person who, well, I don't want to share those brownies really because they're really good. In a moment, we're going to open up for some questions, but before we do, I just want to thank you for joining me. I know marketing systems aren't always the sexiest topic, but they're the ones that have the biggest levers that you can pull for growth, clarity, and confidence in your business. So whether you go away and fix one small thing or start a full transformation, you're already ahead of the curve. Thank you, and it's time for a few questions. See, while my team's been monitoring them and making sure that I get them, so should have a couple more. Well, these questions. All right. Do I need to switch CRMs to make this work? Most of the time, no. Whether it's Zoho, HubSpot, Pipedrive, or Spreadsheets, the first step is to improve the flow between your existing tools. If it's a spreadsheet, yes, you do need to go and invest in a CRM. If you're using HubSpot, are you using the free version or are you using the expensive paid version? If you're using the expensive paid version, let's maybe review what's being used in there, and it might be that you need to change your system. Maybe Salesforce is more appropriate for you, but you'd find that out by doing a comparison of what's possible and what's not. Ideally, changing your tech stack and changing your systems should only ever be the last resort. It is painful to move things. How much of this can my team handle versus needing outside help? That's a great question. Usually it's a mix. If your team is already managing day-to-day marketing, we can usually support them with setup, training, and occasional help, as will platform providers. If you don't have an internal team and you're trying to do it on your own, you may need some outside support, unless you can block out a couple of weeks in your diary and not be doing anything else in the business. I don't have decent data, am I too late? That question is something that I get asked on a regular basis. No, it's not. In fact, it's the best place to start. Get the data cleaned up. You don't need a mountain of analytics to start with, just clarity on where to go next. How fast can I expect to see results? Okay, within 2 weeks of joining up your tools, you'll usually start seeing time savings. Time savings equals money. Doesn't equal conversions, but it equals money back in the business because you're not spending it elsewhere. Within a month or two, you'll start seeing better follow-up, better, clearer results, reports even, and you should be able to make more confident decisions about what you're doing and when. Within 6 months, though, you'll get to a point where you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. Unfortunately, I haven't actually got any more time for questions today, but if you do want to book in a call with me, there's a Calendly link in the description. There'll be a Calendly link that comes out to you with a copy of the recording. If we're not connected on LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn through the event. My email address is philip@marketingmanaged.agency. Thanks again to everyone that joined today, especially those of you who asked questions. I know how busy things get in the engineering and manufacturing world, and the fact that you took some time out today to focus on this tells me you're ready to build something stronger. If you want to keep the conversation going, you know how to do that. I'm not going to repeat it again. Checklist is going to be coming out to you, and drop me a message on here if you wanted to have a chat. Final words. Marketing doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to be connected. That's something you can start fixing today. Thanks again. I've been Phil Bacon from Marketing Managed.